I'm Janelli, also known as Miss Be Helpful, coming at you via Turbo Blog. And this post below is all about the different types of student loans that you might have. Now, I know that student loans is not a fun or sexy conversation to have, but at the end of the day, you really do need to be on top of knowing about your student loans, understanding the type that you have. Because if you file for bankruptcy at any point in your life, you could wipe away credit card debt, you can wipe away auto loan, personal loans, home mortgages, you can wipe away any type of debt that you've ever had and start from a blank slate, except for student loans. It's the only type of debt that you have that will not get wiped away in a bankruptcy. And a lot of people don't know that when they sign on the dotted line at age 18, and they don't know a lot of other things like interest rate terms and conditions and all these different things related to these loans. So chances are it's probably a few years after college, by the time you sit down and say, all right, I really need to get a handle on my student loans, it's time for me to figure this all out. Now, there's 6 major types of student loans that you might have, and so it's important to just understand the differences between them. The first one is the direct subsidized federal student loan. The really good thing about this one is the word subsidized. Now, I'm going to start with just talking about the federal loans first, because those are going to be the best types of loans to get for student loans first before going to look at private banks or private companies to get any loans from them. Simply just because the federal government is going to give you much lower interest rate and better terms on your loan. So the subsidized loan is one example of that. The federal government will offer this to students who do qualify, which means that your family has to have a certain income below a certain threshold. And if that is you, then you get your student loan, and you also get a subsidy after you finish college. So that means when you graduate and you're ready to start making your payments, the subsidy is going to be a pile of money that's going to be equal to the exact amount of interest fees that have built up on your loan while you were in school. So you can use the subsidy that the government gives you to knock the interest fees right off of your balance. So essentially what that means is that when you graduate, you only have to pay back the principal balance or the original balance of the loan that you borrowed, and you are not responsible for paying any interest fees at all. That is amazing and is really unheard of in general in the world of borrowing. And some people will get this opportunity using like a 0% interest credit card, but it's for a limited time only. Whereas with your subsidized federal student loan, you don't ever have to worry about paying interest on these loans because the government is going to handle the interest, and you just have to worry about the loan balance that you borrowed, which is great. Now, on the opposite side of the subsidized student loan, you have the direct unsubsidized federal student loan. And you probably assume by the word unsubsidized what this means. It means that there's no subsidy. The government is not going to help you pay the interest. On the opposite side of that, you are going to be responsible for paying the loan and the interest that's accrued in the 4 years while you were in college. Now, the third option, which is called the PLUS loan, is going to go just specifically to grad students or to parents of undergrads. So if you're an undergrad student and you're trying to get a student loan, but you've already maxed out the amount of money that you're going to be able to get through subsidized or unsubsidized loans, now that might mean that you need to rely on a PLUS loan. The PLUS loan could be taken out by your parent, or later on when you go to grad school, you can apply for one on your own, and the interest is going to be a lot higher than it would be with the unsubsidized or subsidized federal loans. So it was really important to know off the bat, if your parents apply for a loan instead of you, you're going to end up owing more in interest fees. The terms and conditions are slightly different, but generally pretty similar, and I put all those details down below in the post. The fourth type of loan that I talked about below is the direct consolidated loan, which technically isn't a loan that you can apply for when you're in school. It's generally one that you would apply for after you already have all of your student loans in the repayment process. And what this means is that instead of having 4 or 5 different loan amounts that you owe to different, lenders or through different accounts, you could just put them all together into one lump sum in one account, and you make one monthly payment to the same account instead of paying 4 or 5 different accounts every month. That makes your life a lot easier, but what it doesn't do is lower your interest rate. It just takes the average interest rate of all of those 4 or 5 different loans or whatever number of loans you had, and it just makes sure that the average interest rate is the interest rate that you'll be paying over the course of the term of that consolidated loan. So it's really important to understand this. It's not going to lower your interest. It's just going to give you the average, which is what you would be paying if you did them all separately anyway. The real reason to consolidate is just to make your life a little easier. Now, on the other side of this, a lot of people don't know that when you consolidate your student loans, the interest that has built up while you were in school or while you were making payments on your loan is actually going to be combined with the principal balance of your loan, and all of that is going to be what you pay interest on moving forward. So that means that the interest is going to be a little bit more aggressive. It's going to grow a little bit more aggressively because the original balance that the interest is being charged on is going to be much bigger. So you want to be careful and only make the decision to consolidate your student loans if you know that you ran the math, you did the numbers, and you compared consolidating to not consolidating, and it came out to be better for your situation. The fifth one is a private student loan, and this means that it comes directly from a bank or a private company that lends you money to go to college. So this is not your federal student loan at all. This has nothing to do with the government, and it's just you applying for money to go to college from a specific company or bank. Now, when you do this, it's totally different from the federal government loans because the interest rate's not going to be the same. It's probably going to be a lot higher, and they might require you to have somebody to co-sign your application, or they might have to run your credit. With the federal government, when you apply for federal student loans, you probably won't ever be asked to run a credit check because they just assign you your interest based on when you're gonna get that loan dispersed. Versus a bank or a company, they're gonna just look at you as a risk, right? We're going to lend you money. We want to make sure that we're going to get that money back. So they're going to run your credit and they're going to give you an interest rate based on how good or how bad your credit score is. So this is a little risky, right? Because this means that you don't know which interest rate you might get. And on top of that, there's going to be loan fees that are usually associated with these private student loans. So you want to make sure you know all those details before you apply and that you have a plan in place before you go ahead and sign on the dotted line for what you would do to make sure you pay this back in a reasonable amount of time. The last loan type described down below is a refinance private student loan. Now, there's a little asterisk with this one because some companies actually do allow you to refinance all of your loans if you have a mix of private and federal student loans. But the catch is, and which is what you have to really understand, when it comes to just federal student loans, you cannot refinance them. The government does not allow you to refinance your loans and lower your interest rate. You can consolidate them and get the average interest rate of all your loans, but you cannot refinance if you have just federal student loans. But if you have a mix of private student loans and federal loans, then this might be an option for you. Or if you only have private student loans, then you can refinance your loans, which means that they will take all of your loans, put them together into one pile of money that you owe to one lender, to one account, and then they will lower your interest rate a lot lower based on your credit. So at this point, you might want to take a couple of steps to make sure that your credit score is as high as it can be before you apply for refinancing, if you feel like refinancing your student loans is the best bet for you. But you're going to want to make sure you do all your research here, because refinancing your student loans means that you're going to forfeit a lot of those perks and different benefits that you get offered when you have federal student loans. For example, student loan forgiveness is going to go right out of the window if you refinance your loans and combine your federal and private loans. There's details about this and all the other student loan types down below, so make sure that you take a few minutes to read through this post. And if you have questions or comments, post them below. We would love to hear some of those comments and thoughts. Let us know what type of loans you have and what actions you're taking to make sure that you pay off your loans as soon as you possibly can. Till next time, peace.